Last week we talked about two things. One is area, and one is area list. So today we are going to talk about a 2D area. So what is a 2D area? So let's just take a look at it. So what does this unit will test us? So now that you've explored 1D areas, you'll branch out into 2D areas and experiment with data sets represented in a table. So that means with this, you will have column and rows. So it's a 2D area, okay? So let's move on to the next slide. So this unit 8, it's 7.5 and 10% in weight. So you will have 3 to 4 multiple choice questions. Okay, you will have 3 to 4 questions. And it's always in the free open response questions, number 4. So you will expect that, okay, in your test. So let's move on. So what are we going to be tested? They want us to representing collections of data as areas of areas. So all we see 2D areas. Okay, it's area of areas. And traversing a 2D area by accessing the elements using nested iteration statements. Nested, okay. All right, so let's move on. 2D area is just a nested area. It means the item of an area itself is an area. Right? The item of an area itself is an area. So we can also think of 2D areas as a table. The size of these 2D areas is the rows. How many rows you have? A 2D areas does not have to be a rectangle. Okay, areas. This means in the areas, the items does do not have to have the same size for a 2D area. Okay, so the items in the area does not have to be of the same size. But usually when we talk about a 2D area, we do use a square area. These are some examples. You see this one, it's not in a rectangle. You see the first item here, this item has 2 elements. So itself is an area of 2 elements. But this one, it only have 1. This one has 4. Okay, so you understand, it's not have you don't have to make it a rectangle. Okay, so how do you create a 2D area? This is one way to do it, just like what we do in area, and you give it a name, and then you initialize it with the values. Now, this is another way to do it. And you just give the size. So the first item will be the rows. The second one will be the columns. So with this kind of definition, it will be in a square or it will be in a rectangle because you see the row is 5, column is 3. Here, when you do it that way, you do not have to. make it a rectangle. But if you define your 2D array this way, it is a rectangle. Okay. All right. So this one is just an assignment. Okay. An assignment. You assign this value to that specific item in this 2D area. So just want you guys to be aware of that. Let me move on to the next one. And it's very straightforward, actually. It's very straightforward. So I have an area like this. Please write a method to print the data out column by column using loop. That means you print out the first column and then the second and then the third. Okay. You write them out column by column. Can you guys go ahead and do that? So let me give you these requirements. I will give you guys 15 minutes to do it. If you finish it sooner, then that will be great. So it's a 7:08, and we need to finish it by 7:20. But I think most of you should get it done by 7:15. Go ahead and do that. Okay, it's kind of a trick. So you need to print the items out column by column. So that means you print out 1, then 4, then 7. Okay. Then 2, 5, and 8. And then 3, 6, and then 9. Okay. Go ahead and do that. When you finished, I really want you guys to run it to see if you get it right or not. You see the result should print out 147,258,369. Anyone finished? Thomas, I saw your code. Did you test it? Did you try to run it? So
No.
yeah, then can you just copy your code into Eclipse and run it, see if it's right? Based on what I see from your loop, I think you may not get that right. Okay, so can you just try to run it? Can you share yours? Do you mind?
Me?
Yeah, Thomas, yes, you.
Let me get it.
All right, let me just share yours, okay? Let me just to show you that may not work the way you think. Okay. So this is my 2D array, and if I do this, I do this. Therefore, remember this is an attribute. So if I do this, you see what we got. Let me print this out. So you can say that is the way, you know, for you to print out the items one by one, because I ask you to print out the columns, okay? Print out the columns. So the rule will change first. So that's why when you change the J value here, this is a nested loop, and then you change the rule, okay? And then this will be the items as in the column. So it maintains here in that loop, it maintains. So that's what it looks like. But when you use length, okay, for a real, let me quiz you, okay? I think I quizzed you guys last week as well. Let me just quiz you. So with a real, when you wanted to get the length, and you just use the length, and this is an attribute of an area. When they're realistic, how do you get the length? Does anyone remember? Does anyone remember? How do you get the length of the realist?
Size.
Yeah, size. Good answer. Okay, very good. So that's why, you know, you need to remember that. Now, of course, when you actually write your code in Eclipse can help you, because if you put it there, and if it's not right, then it will flag it. But when you do it in the test, then you have to use your hand, right? So then nobody can tell you if it's right or wrong. So you have to memorize it. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Because it's very straightforward, and you know a real and a realist. So there's really not much more to talk about in 2D area. You just remember for a 2D area, the item in the area actually itself is an area. So if you remember that, and you remember how to access the item using the index, and then that's good enough. So let me give you a small quiz here. So can you put your answer in the chat window? I do not get any answer so far. Let me see. Okay. All right. I think you all get the right answer. So that's my bad. I did not see those answers. Okay, that's good. B is the right answer. How about this one? Let me just put in separate here. Okay, good. You get all the right answer. It's B. The right answer is B, because when you talk about the 2D array's length, actually it's just how many rows it has. So it's how many items in the odd array. How many items? You only have 3, right? Okay. So I want you guys to do this quiz. Just question 4. It's a real quiz. It's for 2015. Let me give you this, and I want you guys to do it. Okay, on page 9, question 4. If you go to that URL, I really want you guys to do that, because 2D array is the promised question. There's a promised question, okay? Go ahead and do that.
Which one is it?
Let me check. It should be question 3, I believe. Sorry
Wait.
about that.
Page 9, question 3.
Page 3. Sure, question 3. Should be question 3. Sorry about that. Question 3, page. It's a 2-dimensional area. Okay, page 9, question 3. This is wrong. Question 3.
are we doing the whole problem?
Yeah. Usually it's just 1.5 minutes for your free response question. It will only take that long. So I think right now I give you 20 minutes. See how far you can go. So now it's 10 minutes past. Actually, there are just two questions. Just implemented two methods. One is get the value out. One is remove the column. Remove column is kind of involved. Anyone finished? But let me stop sharing. So Daphne, do you mind to share your screen now? How far have you got? How far have you got?
I'm almost done with the remove column, but I haven't finished it. And
Okay.
area,
So you need 2 more minutes.
yes, please.
I'll give you all 2 minutes. If you finished, I really want you guys to put your hands on the participants list so I know that. If you have not, I give you like 2 more minutes, then I will check your work. Okay. Are you good now, Daphne?
Not yet. I
Can
have
you share yours? Let me see how far you have got. So let me first check your get value at method.
I had an error with the
That's okay. So let me take a look at. So remove column.
I think I deleted it, so I had originally.
So you say if your method is void, actually you do not need it to return anything, right? If you make it a method void, 931, then 935 will give you the problem because it's a void method. So why do we return? So you really wanted to use like a if else, right? Something like that to do that. So just let me, can you scroll down a little bit? So let me see. scroll, so that's get a value at row column.
That's what I
Um,
originally had, but it returns it's an error, so I was just a bit confused.
no, how about if the interest does not have that, and you cannot just do this because interest actually is a list. It is an array list. So you have to get it one by one. You have to look through it. And then you get the item out. The item out, the item is an array entry. Then you can use get row, get column. You will see if the row and the column match it or not.
Oh, I see.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. You can stop sharing. Looks like we really needed to do more access on this. First, you see if you use, I did not have a code example here. So the first thing, let me just go to these requirements, okay, here. So this is the place for you to implement it, right? So the first thing you wanted to do, you really wanted to loop through the entry list, and you get entry list one by one, right? If you get the entry list one by one, then you just get row and column of that entry to see if there's any one there. Okay, if there's any match. If there's a match, you just use get the value, you return that value. Okay, if you loop through the whole entry list and there is no match, then you just return 0. You just use a loop to do it. Okay, use a loop to do it. I do not have the code here, so that's why it's hard for me to show you. Okay, so the second one is that okay, the second one, remove a column. The first thing you need to do, you need to change the column value of this sparse area. You just reduce 1. Okay, and then what you need to do, you just use the column, and you also need to traverse through the entries, and then to find out the column of each every entry. If it's equal to it, then you remove that item from the list. If it's larger than it, then you set its column value to the original value minus 1. Okay, just record it here. So of course this will give me problem, but let me just try to do it. Okay, try to show you the logic of it. Okay, if I say I will just use 4. Okay, so that is an entry. Let me just put the entry as a type. Okay, so my entry, something like this. And then what is that? In that interest, right? In that interest, something like this. Okay, and for here, okay, for here is that if my entry, if my entry, you get the column value. Okay, get the column value. Something like that. If it's equal to the column, then what do? You just use interest, remove this item, right? Remove this item, my entry, right? All right. So else, if else if this one is large, then if this large, then the column. Okay, then what do? You will use okay entry my entry set column equal to my entry get column minus 1. So that way you already handle all the items in that interest. And then the last thing you do, you will just use this current class, right? This item, let me just say my area, okay? You will say set the column. I do not remember exactly that method, okay? Set the column, what is the column? Is that my area get column minus 1. Okay, and then you will reset that value. This is just some code to show you. I do not have that exact code. So that's the way to do it. Okay. That is the way to do it. And also if you use get value at, so you will say get value at, okay, you have a X and a Y. Okay. So what do? You also need to use this for entry, right? You just do that. And if you say if my entry get column equals to Y and my entry get a row equal to X, and then what you do? You just return my entry, okay? Get value. That's it. And here you already finished the for loop. And then after that, return 0. Because that means you do not find any match in the entries that get that row and the column. So there's no match there. So that means the value is 0, return it. Okay. So that's the logic. That is the logic. Any other question from you guys? Looks like we needed to do more access like that. And I really wanted that we have a session, the next session, I will give you guys enough multiple choices. Then at least every week we needed to do one of these kind of questions. So you can really practice and we can do it together. Okay, any question? Any question? No question? Give me some feedback. Okay. Right? If you do not have question, if you don't have more question, then let's stop here.